The draft is about upside, and ideally upside contributing to winning basketball. In the 2019 draft class, Zion Williamson rightfully holds near consensus position as the highest upside prospect, mostly due to his intersection of generational functional athleticism and historic production. While upside governs the draft, having a valuable floor is also invaluable at the top of the draft, especially in a high-variance draft like 2019. This floor value isn't just counting stats production, but rather impacting games in positive fashion. While Williamson gets credit for his upside, I'd argue his safety to value is also the highest in this class, making him a truly generational type prospect. This video examines his valuable floor on the offensive end. Let's dive in. The ability for bigs to snare the ball off the rim and quickly push up the floor in transition is gold in the modern game. Few bigs, and frankly, few bigs in history, bring the transition, deadliness, and versatile chaos that Zion projects to. Zion can initiate the break as a driving finisher and hit-ahead passer, as well as finish the break as a leak-out threat and passer on the move. Zion's open court speed and acceleration is dynamic and puts heavy pressure on defenses to form a wall quickly with the ground he can cover in a short amount of time. Maybe the best proxy for Zion's transition potential is Ben Simmons, who blends rare downhill speed with an assortment of quick-hitting dribble moves. Zion is even more explosive in and out of his moves, rendering him impossible to stay in front of in space. Zion has both in and out moves with either hand, as well as crossovers and hesitations, a formidable toolbox for changing directions. This lethal combination of ball handling control at high speeds and quick change of direction suddenness is best exemplified here. Zion can also quickly fill the lane and beat defenses down the floor that aren't disciplined with back contained. Being a 99th percentile athlete also has its advantages. The ability to pick out open shooters for high-value unguarded threes in transition is an incredibly efficient source for easy points, and necessitates a big capable of dribbling with his head up and executing passes on the move. In arguably the play of the year thus far for all prospects, Zion shows the ability to execute a precision bounce pass at high speed with touch, demonstrating both vision and accuracy. And again to Trey Jones in the same Kentucky game. We haven't seen this from Zion yet this year, but it's easy to project him into a grab-and-go, body-seeking handoff force a la Julius Randle as well. Lastly, bigs who can start the break via quick hit-aheads give typically faster perimeter players the chance to leak out and fill the lanes, catching defenses before they're set. Zion has natural instincts here, with the accuracy and the power to hit on-the-move targets nearly in stride. The fact Zion immediately looks up to survey the court is promising, and a testament to his feel and unselfishness. In the half court, Zion can initiate an offense as a perimeter player at least part of the time from the big position with his combination of ball handling and passing. From a team-building perspective, gaining initiation and play creation from bigger players creates value on both ends, as teams can get more skill on the floor offensively with, in theory, wider skill gaps relative to position in Zion's case, and can also stay big and don't have to incur the defensive trade-off of playing smaller point guard-sized players that get hunted. Zion's most direct avenue to value in the half court is as a scorer with self-creation gravity through finishing and getting to the rim and the foul line, while in the process collapsing defenses and creating opportunities for others. Other big initiators, as a point of reference, accomplish rim attacks in different ways, but due to the general lack of a pull-up threat, most all have to play through contact. Giannis is one of the most physical players in the league and moves through players with shoulder drops, putting defenders in the basket, even power players. Giannis also wins with space-eating strides to the rim and gather steps. When you pair those traits with length extension and being close to 7 feet tall, Giannis can simply overwhelm most players over the top, and the resulting package is one of the best finishers in the league. Simmons wins with speed to power when he can get downhill in the open court, creating separation with his frame and momentum. In the half court, Simmons relies more on first step and dribbling agility when he can't get ahead of steam. What keeps Simmons from being an elite finisher outside of the finishing hand issue is inconsistent physicality. Here, he has Jamal Crawford in the post and Josh Jackson in help position. Note that he has eyes on rim protector Richaun Holmes, who is out of position to help guarding a spacing threat. Instead of putting Crawford in the basket, Simmons advances away from the basket, resulting in a missed scoop shot. This inconsistent physicality in conjunction with a lack of length extension is what keeps Simmons from that elite tier. Early career Blake Griffin won with dynamic explosiveness as another speed-to-power leaper. In closer confines, Griffin used his frame on spin moves to carve out space to get to the rim, playing through and around contact. Griffin also relied on nimble ball handling agility and coordination in face-up settings. Similar to Simmons, Griffin lacked length extension on finishes, but compensated in other ways. Zion has elements of the above players in his finishing arsenal, but the overall package is still different. If pressed up on, Zion wins getting to the basket by getting low with an explosive and powerful first step in conjunction with his handle. Competition aside, you can see the effect. Here, Juwan Morgan is trying to shade Zion right, but his positioning is poor. Zion crouches and then attacks Morgan's outside foot to the left, gaining the corner and holding position with his frame to draw the foul. E.J. Montgomery doubles down on mistakes here, shading left and also playing way too high in his stance. Zion sets him up with a through-the-legs move, and then right-to-left crossover, gaining the edge to ultimately finish through contact. I'll elaborate more on this lateral burst and agile hop step move in the next video, but it's a noticeable distinguishing trait compared to most of the players listed above and could be a game changer. If a defender sags off more, Zion can build momentum and utilize his elite strength and explosiveness, which allows him to play through and over the top getting to the basket. Petrusev can't get close to this. Against smaller players, Zion overwhelms, again with size and explosiveness, but also agility and body control, showing the side-to-side nimbleness to navigate his drive without just running through a small to draw the charge. Zion also has drive diversity with the ability to get to his right hand and get off the floor quickly, off 1 foot explosively without a load leap. While Zion lacks length extension, the size of some of his counterparts here, and the degree of his overall finishing ceiling can be debated. He's a strong bet to be a significant plus here, both in frequency and success. He's also going to live at the line. Oftentimes, a big initiator doesn't have the threat of a pull-up, and defenders will adjust by sagging off just enough to contain drives, but not too far to allow the player to build up momentum. A logical counter to this, in order to help the player get to the rim, is putting the player in pick and roll as the ball handler. When a bigger player of Zion's size can really handle the ball and pass, it opens up a plethora of options for an offense. These sets are especially effective with a shooting threat as the screener. Zion projects to be devastating here, at least part-time, especially with his dynamic burst to capitalize on lanes to the rim. Here, Reed Travis and E.J. Montgomery aren't on the same pick-and-roll defense page. Reed either has to direct into the screen to Zion's left, or Montgomery has to contain on the drop to Zion's right in an ice coverage look. This miscommunication allows us to see how quickly Zion can capitalize on mistakes in a single explosive dribble to the rim. In another pick-and-roll example, Zion rejects in this 4-5 look and beats Rui Hachimura right. Even in good contained settings, Zion can locate a crevice on the move and has the agility to counter. And again, we see the ability to overwhelm a small on a switch in this 4-1 slip. The other vital component to a big initiator is passing and decision-making. The player needs a modicum of vision and decision-making ability to be actualized in this role, even if the player has the driving and finishing gravity to collapse a defense. Zion again projects to have a solid foundation here. Griffin, for example, is in many ways the de facto point guard for Detroit because of his combination of perimeter skill and decision-making. Even in cases where the player doesn't initiate the set, having the decision-making and passing ability operating with the ball at a standstill above the break is basically the same idea. Making quick decisions on the move and capitalizing on collapsing defenses is crucial for Zion, and he's already shown acuity here when drawing a crowd. While Zion's decision-making looks promising, it's still one of the areas he has to show consistency in throughout the rest of the season. His willingness to pass and execute simple dig reads has always stood out. This play is reminiscent of the Draymond play series before. As noted before, there will be times when big initiators who can't shoot off the dribble effectively, especially from three, and who don't have shooting gravity, will be schemed out of primary creation duties by smart teams. What gives a bigger perimeter playmaker like Zion an advantage over basically all other guard-sized perimeter players who aren't shooting threats is Zion is also a big and can function as one on the floor, affording him far more versatility. Tapping into this versatility is key to optimizing a player like this, where he can serve as a mismatch creator. The key ingredient to unlocking this potential usage is the ability to post up switches. You don't have to be an advanced post player here armed with a bevy of moves. It just has to be good enough to beat a switch one-on-one or draw help. Zion has the explosion to easily finish over similarly sized or smaller players with good position on duck-ins, and has the quick second jump to finish the play. Zion almost always goes over his right shoulder, but his elite quickness and footwork compensates and allows him to explode around bigger players. You like to see the physical edge here, dropping the shoulder, as well as holding position inside with his general strength and low center of gravity. LeBron is the all-time mismatch creator due to his scoring prowess in the post to draw two, but also because of his quick decision-making and anticipation as a passer to capitalize on small windows. The degree of how good Zion is at post-up finishing and passing is a ceiling question, especially if the turnaround jumper never comes. But critical to his floor is that he shows the baseline to do these things. Another benefit of a big initiator is the ability to kick him over to the screener and play finisher role when shooting gravity becomes an issue. Players like Zion can of course post up without serving as the screener, but operating as the screener opens up potentially higher value opportunities as a play finisher, either in the post versus a likely more favorable matchup on a switch, or as a roll man space player if the defense doesn't switch, pending the coverage. Simmons had a decent amount of usage as the roll man at LSU, mostly diving or slipping screens, and his versatility in this respect was probably underappreciated in the draft process by most. Zion has had far less usage here up to this point, but you can easily piecemeal together several strengths of his game in handling as a pop threat and explosiveness as a vertical spacer to craft a projection image. Every team in the league also needs a short roll big who can make a simple but quick read or get to the rim. Zion projects as a potential super Draymond in this role with his far superior finishing acumen. It just depends on how good the decision-making is. Bigger ball handlers who meet the frame, hip flip, ball handling, and passing thresholds can function as lethal dribble handoff threats, especially when paired with movement shooters who have gravity. We again haven't seen Zion with a lot of usage here, but with his wide frame, high-level handling control, and explosion to separate with the ball, it's an easy projection. The surrounding shooting component is crucial here. as the farther up Zion's defender has to play on him in order not to let a shooter walk into an open three, the more Zion's first step and burst comes into play, turning the corner on drives, especially with deception like fake handoffs. The key to all of this, again, is versatility to function as both a big and a perimeter player. There are also some ancillary off-ball or tertiary play finishing opportunities where Zion should siphon off points or create opportunities with his finishing gravity for others. I'm going to address the lack of shooting off-ball component for Zion more in the next video, but for now I'll say you can't give Zion the Tony Allen treatment, because players who can dribble at Zion's size, who are all-time explosive athletes, will just time their runs, build up momentum, and win at the rim. If LeBron played more off the ball in his prime, or was willing to, he would probably be the best cutter of all time with his combination of intelligence and athleticism. Zion will just eat up the space you give him and make you pay for it if unchallenged. Backdoor lobs and lobs in general are growing in popularity in the league, especially when employing stretch bigs to drag the opposing team's rim protector out of the paint. I think this is a comfortable projection for Zion. If paired with a stretch big like Porzingis, Zion can also function in the dunker spot with how quick and explosively he can get off the floor from a standstill. Zion should also clearly be a force flying in on the offensive glass and giving consistent multiple effort plays. Overall, Zion's value floor on offense is based on his versatility to function as a perimeter player and a big, along with his adaptability to still serve a valuable role if his shortcomings are schemed against. While several of these traits are degree-related in terms of ceiling, Zion's foundation across the board is strong. Possessing elite functional athleticism, versatile skill level, intelligence, and competitive fire at such a young age, Zion is a prospect you want to bet on, even if he never fully reaches his ultimate ceiling. This has been Cole Zwicker from The Stepien. As usual, check out the site. Until next time.